Okay, so instead of one being, it's several little green orbs. And they'll just speak as one.
Oh. Okay, what dimensional frequency are they in?
5.
Oh. So they're not 4D nature spirits.
They're saying just because they're green doesn't necessarily mean they're nature spirits, but yes, they are connected to Earth, but in 5D.
Okay, so they're outside the cube.
Yes, they're saying they're from where Earth's soul is from.
Okay, so they're connected to Earth through her past before she was in the cube.
Yes.
And what is their purpose with Earth at this time?
To be the outside influence, just as there are energies that are aiding humanity in waking up, getting you to see a different perspective, that there is more than your universe, there's more than your box, helping you to do it on your own. We are helping her in much the same way. Help her to wake up, remember, help her to remember. We can't make her do it, but we are merely an influence.
Okay, so you're here to help Gaia more than the plants, animals, and humans, or is it all equal?
We know that anything that is Gaia energy, which is everything in Gaia, is Gaia. Therefore, yes, we'd be helping all.
Okay. People want to know how they can connect to you. So, since you're fifth dimensional, I assume it'd have to be through meditation.
Yes, but sometimes when you're in the frequency of meditation without physically being seated with your eyes closed, sometimes people connect to us, if only fleeting. But it's just perhaps take it as a reminder that there is more. What you saw wasn't a figment of your imagination, it was something that this little box couldn't comprehend.
Do you have power to influence 3D in any way?
Not without permission.
So, if we grant you permission, then you can have an effect on our 3D lives?
The permission would have to come from your soul, not your vessel.
Can our 3D egos direct our souls to give you permission?
Only if they're in alignment.
If our souls did give you permission to affect our 3D lives, what kind of impact would you have?
Only the impact that you could impact yourself. So it would not be us being a separate entity creating something for you, but merely showing you ways in which you can create it for yourself. If you would like to give us credit for that, that is fine, but we'd rather you guys give the credit to yourselves.
So, really, you're just an extension of ourselves. You're part of Gaia in 5D, basically.
Yes.
What is with our traditions and lores? Why are you associated with pots of gold and being small and being nature spirits?
If you think of these stories of your Anunnaki, yes, they are interested in gold. There is not really a battle, but a differing of opinion about the energy of gold. And the Anunnaki Anunnaki, being of a negative polarity, wanted to utilize the energy of gold in order to find who they truly are, something outside of themselves they are using. That is much of the energy of the negative polarity, that they look for things outside themselves in order to understand themselves, in order to find their power. Our energy is of a positive polarity. We look at the energy of gold and we don't wish to possess it, but to see it as an extension of ourselves. And how can we find that frequency within ourselves to empower ourselves? And this is why we connect to Gaia, to help remind her of her own power. Of course, within the box that all reside in, there is a twisting of the truth for the 3D self to view. That twisting of truth would have you see us as if we were the Anunnaki, that we covet gold, that we somehow want to possess it, something outside of ourselves. It's trickery, but this is why we want to help empower, so that you can see beyond the trickery, beyond the inversions in your stories and your lore. The reason that things are so believable is because there's always a hint of truth. But it's within that truth that you need to go in and look at what else is true, and not just what is being presented to you. So we have no animosity about how we are presented, because we know that it could trigger learning in some way. If you feel connected to the leprechaun, then why? Have you been looking for pots of gold outside of yourself? And perhaps in that journey, you realize that the gold was always within you. And because many humans realize this, this is why many negative polarity beings want to control the human race so much, because many humans possess something that they find hard to do themselves, and that's to find their own inner power.
Okay, is the current rising price in gold indicative of people being in fear and looking for something outside of themselves?
Yes,
They're in fear of change?
they know change is inevitable. So, knowing that gold on this planet is valuable, they are putting all of their energy and all of their resource into this gold, where at some point there will be a realization that if you've surrounded yourself with all of the gold in the world, I still don't feel safe. I still don't feel powerful. Perhaps the obtaining gold was not the answer. Perhaps it was what it represented. And that representation was that I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to feel empowered. And perhaps maybe I was empowered all along, that I held the power and I didn't need all of this gold. So the act was not a waste because there was a lesson in it. And many are realizing that.
So currently on this planet, gold is a representation of our power, but people have externalized it.
Yes, because if you think of negative and positive polarity, that negative and positive polarity are within you. You could say the Anunnaki is within you just as much as a leprechaun is within you, the light and the dark. So to hate one half or shun one half is to shun that half of yourself, which makes it easier for that half of yourself to deceive you because you don't understand it.
Wow. Do you ever take form in 3D?
Only when given permission. So sometimes deer, we like to work with deer. The soul that would inhabit a deer might ask us to become one with its energy. And animals, being very adept at portal and shape shifting, might appear as something small, like a wee person, when actually it was a deer. But a deer with our energy, very hard to explain.
Since you're fifth dimensional, do you ever incarnate into humans, animals, plants, crystals?
We do not wish to incarnate, but to work with.
Yeah, it's pretty bad here, isn't
We do not wish to be in the cube.
it? No one wants to be in the queue. um, Lisa wants to know. Hold on, let me scroll up just one moment. What entities reside in the Blackthorn, or what spirits?
Like we said, there are negative and positive polarities. How you view those polarities is through your own personal filter. So in the Blackthorn, there are beings that may appear scary to you, but are actually of a positive polarity. Using your intuition, you must ask yourself why, in the human vessel, you might view something that is positive as actually negative, as sometimes things are inverted. And so, the actual purpose of the Blackthorn is to show you the inversions within your cube. No more, no less.
Why are you associated with Ireland?
There are portals on Gaia herself, just as there are portals within your own body. Sometimes you see those portals as chakras, but it's not just chakras. There are various portals within the various energy fields that you have. One of those portals is within the place that you've given in the name of Ireland. And although that is not the place that we just exclusively come through, it is a place that the beings on your planet, humans, have long time ago connected with us. It wasn't just the Celtic peoples. And yes, the Celtic peoples did not just reside in Ireland, but there were many peoples around the world who worked with the quote unquote little people. Leprechaun was just something that was given to us in Ireland. And it was something that the peoples of that region never forgot. However, the other myths and lore of other parts of the regions in which we came through in those portals, some of our myths and lore have been swept under the rug or deemed as nonsense, mystical, not part of the 3D. So you must also ask yourself why those people in that part of the world never forgot those portals. They never forgot what their ancestors saw. They never forgot the stories. Is it because they are trying to find their power and they never forgot?
Wow. Are there any other mythical creatures that you were connected to that we might know in other cultures?
5D creatures?
Well, we see leprechauns as 4D, and we see them as mythical creatures. Obviously, that's not correct. But are there any other creatures that you're associated with?
We would say that any beings that you have a connection with in what you call your nature realm, I suppose would be somewhat on the same frequency as us, which is why we get caught up in these stories of being a nature spirit. There are many nature energies or type energies that you associate with nature that are within the same dimension that we reside in. Not all nature spirits are fifth dimensional. Of course, like you said, many are fourth dimensional. But because sometimes it's hard to discern what is 5D and what is 4D, we all get lumped in as one. Just as all humans don't like to be called just one thing, that we are all unique, yes, but to varying degrees, you are different, but the same. So, yes, we're different, but sort of the same.
I see. So you associate with the fae, with the fairies and things like that, but you're a higher vibration.
Yes.
Okay. John wants to know what's the balance of holding the stories of our past and writing stories for our future?
When you look at the stories of your past, the best thing to do is to figure out how they are true for you. How do you find the truth? By actually asking your heart, your soul. What is the truth in the stories of our past? How do I apply these stories to my present to create a brand new story? That is how you create balance. It is not to hold on to the past, so to speak, as that is an old energy and the present is the present. So instead of creating two separate stories, how do we just see the continuation of that energy through my past? And how can I transmute it if that is my wish?
What advice would you give humans for the ascension process at this time in our time period?
To go within. There are so many voices. Yes, we are a voice. Yes, Gaia is a voice. But of all these voices, sometimes it becomes overwhelming. So we ask you to listen to your soul. Not every soul's mission is exactly the same as our mission or Gaia's mission. Yet there is a similarity. When all enact their own mission, it ends up helping the whole, which the whole in this cube is to ascend. So, although your mission may not look like it is part of the ascension process, it is helping all those wishing to ascend.
We're all different puzzle pieces in an elaborate puzzle.
Yes. So, with all the voices and all of the messages out there, even our voice, we would say the best voice to listen to is your own.
Will this be the last experiment with Gaia in the cube, or will there be more to come?
There are timelines where there are future experiments, and there are timelines where the experiments cease to exist. It's whatever timeline you choose.
So there's a timeline where we liberate the cube. We don't do it, but we all do it together, and the cube stops being used in this way.
Yes.
How can we put ourselves on that timeline?
Again, listen to the voice within. Find the inversions. Find the light and the dark. Find your light and your dark. Find what placed me in this cube in the first place. If I have free will, that means I put myself here. Why did I do that? And if I look at the cube as the enemy, then I see myself as the enemy. So you must realize the cube is not your enemy. Your ego is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. This does not mean that you need to keep your teacher with you for the rest of your life, but take their teachings and move on.
The cube is us.
Yes.
What was your perspective on our conversation with Bashar last night?
Very good questions. Keep asking questions. No matter the entity, no matter how great or how smart you think entities are, you need to ask the right questions. How do you ask the right questions? By allowing your higher self to do the questioning. So, even like with us, asking the right questions are questions that come from the soul because they are the ones that you need to hear to grow.
Is Bashar's ego nervous that his gig might be up soon?
I feel that all negative polarity might be nervous.
Mm.
This is why many of you feel nervous. Not to say that you're a negative polarity, but to remind you that we have all polarity within us. And this is the ego portion of you that perhaps might be nervous. But just like the ego, this is not truly you. It's only a portion of you.
What advice can you give us in our ego removal practice? We're going into the Akashic records of the cube and finding ways to delete ego. Do you have any advice for us moving forward?
I don't know if we would have any advice that would be any more beneficial than what you're doing. The looking inwards, taking responsibility for your reality, taking responsibility for your past, for your birth, for coming here. And in that responsibility, you then have your own power again. You stand in your power. To take responsibility is not to give your power away. Remember, that is the inversion. That is what the ego would have you believe, that if I take responsibility of something that doesn't make me feel good, that means I am not a good person or I have made bad mistakes. It's quite the opposite. Taking responsibility for your world, for your darkness as well as your light, is to empower you because you shed light on all things. It gives you clarity.
Mm. Are you associated with the color green because you can enter through our heart chakra?
We are the heart chakra.
That is beautiful. If there's no more questions, I guess we can say goodbye. I really appreciate you speaking with us. Do you have any last messages for us?
No matter what you have heard, even from our own voice today, the truest message you could ever hear is the one within you. No more, no less.
That, my friends, was a message of light. There was no ego in there. That was all high vibe.